Hi, welcome back to Mechanic Garage. Something a bit different today. I'm going to put the Trabant engine back together. I stripped it last night, give it a really good clean out, washed it out, put it on the boiler to dry overnight. Checked everything and we're all good. I had a delivery from Germany of all the parts that was missing, crank seals, things like that. So this is not an instructional video. This is just me showing you what I'm doing because I've never done one before. And yeah, having looked at it, there's a lot of little things you need to get right the first time as well. But I'll show you that in a minute. For those that haven't seen it, that is my Trabant. That's your engine, gearbox, suspension, everything on the front subframe. When I bought it, the engine was already out. It's on its side to get a bit of welding done. But the engine was already out and in bits. Partially cleaned, but that was all. So I've gone a bit deep because these are prone for being rough bearings and things like that. But needed to do the crank seals. Two strokes ones rely on crankcase being sealed. Now this end, which is the belt pulley end, that's quite soft still, and it would have probably worked past its best, but the fact it's oily on the other side shows it's not working entirely as it should. This end is the flywheel end, and I suspect this is the original because it's absolutely rock hard. I mean, I literally moved it to see how supple it was and pieces broke off. It's literally solid. You can't bend it, move it at all. Well, there you go, that's it. But it is rock solid. Giving all the bolts a clean up, usual things. The hook that goes on for the spring, I'll show you when I fit it. You can see that it's not quite worn through, but there's not an awful lot holding that back on, holding the spring on, because that's basically all the time you operate and that's vibrating with the spring. So I made another one. It's not perfect, but it's upside down, it serves a purpose. And it's a lot stronger. It's slightly thicker as well, so it'll hold a bit better than it was. I cleaned up this pulley because this needs to go fitted to the crank before it's fitted in the engine, because it goes in that gap there like that. I found the timing marks. Just 2 cylinders, 2 sets of points, 2 coils, 2 condensers, and it all basically works off those marks there. You set it that 4mm before top dead center. But you need these marks to know which one is firing at what time, etc. So that's that. The seal behind the flywheel I showed you, that's a new one. I had to make a gasket because I forgot to buy one. Basically, that's the remains of the old one. And anyway, I'll stop waffling and we'll start putting it together. I've all cleaned up. I'm going to put some slight light smear of oil on things before, rather than put it together dry, because it's going to sit around for a little bit. I've got it outside so you can see. I stripped it in the van last night, but it would have been a bit restrictive. But basically, what I'm going to do is just put a very slight smear of oil on these, just so that it's not dry. You don't want very much. I could do with a better stand, but that's all I've got. I suspect they went together dry, but I'm not doing it dry. Alright, there's your crank. When you put them in, you have to push these flaps over so that they actually drop into the slots that they're supposed to be in, and then don't get damaged. There's a special tool for it. There's a special tool for pretty much everything. Just make sure that they are free. Yeah. Now each one of these bearings has a little peg. They all locate into a hole, and each one has a little peg to stop them spinning. So you have to get them in the right place or you ain't going to together. And get the bearings where they need to be. I'll just bring you in to show you that. Each of the bearings fits into these slots that locates them in position. There's a centre bearing in there. Each one, as you can see, little tiny peg there, little tiny pin on each one. They locate them and stop them rotating. That one is on that side there. So you get them in the right place. New crank seal fits in that slot. Your springs and your dowels and pins and everything on there. Let's see, there you go, spring in that pin for that. And they open and close the ports. They ride against this face and they cover and uncover the ports. Fiddly, but it's in now. I'll leave it where it is in that position so these don't go, because they have basically a clamp that sits down there and holds those in place when they assemble it, but I haven't got that. It's amazing how many special tools there are for these, considering that I'm building it on my drive. Cleanliness is your biggest thing. You need to be really, really clean. Any bits in here causes you issues, same as any engine, it's nothing specific about these. It rotates freely, all those are in. Now if you watch the videos on these when they make it, they just grab the top half of the engine cover, splash it into a bath of, I think, cellulose lacquer it's called, and then they just splat, tap, 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 job done. But they were doing it all day every day. They do it quickly and effectively. I'm doing it very, very carefully and gingerly in case I damage something. Get a light coating of it, if you can see, on those mating faces. Daub it on the outside as well, which we don't want, just because it looks a mess. There's no real effect on anything. Yeah, and then that, literally, same with these, you hold them out of the way, into the slots. And in theory, without it falling off my little pathetic stand. These are just to wind them down by hand for now, and I'll go and fetch my torque wrench. Not a bad time to make sure it spins freely before you tighten it. Make sure nothing's tightened, nothing's in the way. The conrod's moving up and down. For the M10s, which are the 6 big ones, we are on 34.3 Newton meters. So that's just under 35, which is there. Set sequence as usual. And basically work your way around. And then the M8 ones are 19.6 Newton meters, which is close as I can read on here, 20 Newton meters. Is now it all torqued back together. There we go, slightly more resistance on that now. Now it's squished the seal up a little bit, nice and smooth. So next job, turn it over, get the flywheel and everything back on. Right, that's the other way up now. When I got the car, this engine was in the boot in pretty much this state with the engine with the pistons on, but whoever had it had made a handy stand for it to sit on. So, thank you very much if you're watching this. But apart from the clanking, because me hitting the edges of the bores, that is really smooth. You got flaps here, cover it up. In fact, hang on, I'll show you them because I said earlier I would. That's where your carburetor sits. Through here, there's a drilling, and on both sides, inside each port, there you go with the light. You've got a port with a flap covering it, And what happens as the engine turns, it uncovers that port there. Can't see for the light, the sun's in the wrong place. Uncovers that port there, allowing fuel and air mix in, and oil as well. That lubricates all the bearings and everything. If it gets to a certain point, then it'll come back round and closes it off. Same on that side. You can just see on this one now, with the sun, maybe not. Yeah, there. Anyway, there. So yeah, that's where the spring-loaded flaps sit against there. So they run against there. You can see the gap now. That's spring-loaded. So it seals them up best they can. Opens and closes the inlet port. It's then compressed around underside of the piston and pushed up the transfer port into the cylinders. Now time to get pistons back on. Now this engine has had a slight nip up in the past. You just see slight scoring, but there's no marks. You can't feel any of it, and these are new rings anyway, so you have to be careful as well, because I don't know if you can see in there, there's a little tiny pin, and if you try and fit it with those, with the piston rings in the way of them, then they just break. There's an arrow on each one of these that faces forward towards the exhaust port, because then all the ports within the barrel are well away from piston ring ends, and it's never going to catch the end and snap one. So I'll get these ready to go on. You have to press them in. So I've just got a G-clamp and a socket. Right, when I took them off, I marked them up. The piston 1 and 2, or cylinder 1 and 2. So I marked up which ones that came off. And where's the arrow? The arrow on this one. Can't really see it, it's really faint, but that needs to go forward, so I need to press it on from that side. And this one needs to go on from that side. But that's piston 1, arrow facing forward. Needle roller bearing, make sure they're all still in there, they haven't broken up or anything else. I'll put some oil in it. Let's get this a little bit higher up. I put some oil in it so that it's not dry, because like I say, it's going to sit around for a little bit. And what you need to do, now this is what I was saying about special tools. They'll do that, they'll put a pin through there which will hold this in exactly the right place. And they use a socket which will then align that. It's getting a bit windy. Just use it on the end there. Now that is as near as it can be in line. So, is that facing forward? Yep, arrow facing forward. All I need to do now, just literally press this on gently, because it doesn't need to go far before the socket is going to be in the way. So right, that's centralised on the hole, and I'll just gently press it, and if there's any resistance whatsoever, more than it just moving, then I'm going to stop. There you go, I think the socket, yeah, that's good. The socket is now there, so that's in perfectly in line. Oh, actually, that's gone through with a little bit of help. Each side, gudgeon pin retaining clip. They just basically go in to stop them coming out. So what I'll do is put this one in now, then I can press it through to it where it stops. And I know it's in the right place then. That's clicked in. There you go, and that's that one in. So number 2, arrow facing forward, number 2 correct. Yeah, like I said, there's loads of special tools in the factory, so you just literally slide it through, it holds it in the right place, and gets it, doesn't go too deep, too far. So, one down, fiddly one to go. There's just a little bit of resistance on it, nothing massive. I did oil it before it went in as well, so. Now I can put the retaining clip back in. It's not a bad idea to cover these ports up, because if it twangs off it'll go in there. It'll either go in there and be a pain, or it'll just disappear and you'll never see it again. This one's got a bit more resistance, I just need to push this pin in ever so slightly more. Because what I don't want to do is squash the clip on the other end. There we go. That's that one in. So this now, other than being cleaned, new seals, washed out, lubricated and checked, oh, apart from the flywheel, I was going to say he's now back to where I was last night. So where your seal goes, I had to make, that's where that gasket goes with a 3-bolted screw. This is the original lacquer from when it's been assembled. But other than that now, get the flywheel on. In fact, I need to clean the flywheel, so I won't put that on just yet. I'll get this sealing in place and then we'll get the barrels on. Right, you've got these 3 seals and spring washers. Now these go back to back on each other. Oh, that's how they came out. Because that presses on the outside of the bearing and then against the front of the seal. And then your centre spring washer goes on there like that. And that is what the flywheel bolts up against, I think. As I say, I don't know because I've never done one. This then goes on, they don't quite line up evenly, so work out where they go. Yeah, they go there. I can always take this off if need be anyway, just to check. That will press against the back of that and hold that in place. Yeah, that's correct, that'll push that. Right, so I'll get some sealant on this and then we'll go from there. This one with the new seal, I've made the gasket earlier that I showed you. A little drain hole at the bottom, these go in, only one go in one place. It's not there, it's not there, it must be there. There you go. That's a drain hole at the bottom, drain hole's at the top, so it's not a drain hole. Okie dokie. Right, and you just have these 3 screws. 3 screws with spiky washers on. There's also this casting mark, can you see it there? 1278. So that's when it was made. So that means it is still the, if not the right original engine from the car, which I suspect it probably is, it's definitely the right age. As with everything, there'll be a torque setting, but how do you torque a screwdriver? There you go, flywheel cleaned up. It's quite rusty on the face. Locate the key. That hole there, okay, not into that side. Now there's a beveled side of this, I got told. Either way, it goes that way because that's how it came off. Again, this and the other end will need torquing up properly. But I'll get the bores on first because otherwise you start rattling the pistons about. And just for now, I'll give it a nip into place. Gaskets, two of them, one for each side. Graphited side goes down to the bottom. I have to check on the manual for these things because I don't know, I've never done one. And then comes a bit where you're going to break stuff if you're not careful. Right, that's them on. Now you have to stagger the piston rings to avoid those clips, avoid the pins. This is like really important. You can see where they go, as I showed you earlier, little pins that are in there. And if you click one in the wrong place, because what they have is, like when they build them, it's just a clamp that goes around it, squishes them in, clunk, let go. But I haven't got one. Nobody does. Well, somebody probably does. But this bit needs a bit of oil. The bottom of each barrel has got a bevel. Got a beveled edge. So that helps slide the piston rings in. Ideally you could do with a spring compressor, but I don't have one. So I'm going to try to not break it. Oh, there you go, nicely. It's squishing that one in nicely. This is good because you can actually, doing it at this angle, I can see where the pins are. And that's that in. There you go. Ho ho. Right, we're now further than I've actually been, because I've never had these on. But that was easy. That was a lot easier than I was anticipating. Right, now there are nuts and washers that hold these on, but you can't. I'll just stick one on at the minute just to stop it in case it wants to move. Because you have to bolt the manifold on. They have a special tool, another one, that bolts these places completely flat, so that you get these completely in alignment, and you'll end up with gaskets that are trapped at one end and not the other. One down. The fact you can get to them is good, because this one they're not as clear to see. You can feel them, and there's two opposite each other, so you can see if you're in the right place for those two. You're in the right place for that one. Horrible job. Give it a little bit of oil around the bottom again, just help it slide in. I'm going to be going in dry. Get rid of any excess. And again, in fact I'll move that slightly, so it's that way. Obviously in the factory it would have taken far less time than this, but they do it all day every day and have all the special tools which I don't. As if by magic, it's back together. Camera ran out of, the phone ran out of storage space because I'd been filming the entire thing in full HD, in Ultra HD, not full HD. So if the quality changes now, that's why you might notice a slight difference. Be interesting to see if it does though, because the time it takes to upload and the amount of time it saves, so it uses to save the video, is ridiculous. Anyway, right, they're on. They're not tight. You've still got that bit of movement. The bolt on the manifold, and then we know, wherever I've put it, there. Then we know that it's flat. So I'm going to have to wrap it up quite quickly, because if it's run out of space once already, and I've deleted a load of files, just make sure they're flat before we start. Delete a load of files and video, and it'll end up using it all again. So bolt this on. This is like your dummy run thing to line it all up. We've got no gaskets or anything on, it's just literally to pull the cylinders into alignment. There's a chance you get it right anyway. There's not a lot of movement, but you're better off doing this for the sake of 5 minutes, if that. Right, there you go. So that amount of movement, but they're now perfectly in line. So that moves freely, they're in line. fasten these down. Now there is a torque setting. I don't have the tool to do it because there isn't enough room, so I'm just going to do it on feel of what you normally would do an M8 bolt for, and as long as they're all even, then you're okay. Right, well, it's a little bit later on now. Phone ran out of memory again, so I had to just delete loads and loads of stuff. So hopefully I can do this last little bit and then edit the video, because otherwise I don't know what I'm going to do. The phone's pretty much full and I don't think there's much else I can get rid of. So anyway, I carried on, did a few more little bits, and got a bit more together. Got a couple of covers on, got the heads torqued down, got the fan on. I need to get a proper metal spacer because I just had to put a plastic one in for now because I can't find the one that came off there. Earlier engines have this bit, so you have to put the belt on first. You know, you can leave that off for now, but they don't have this arm on the later ones. For the ignition side of things goes in there. I've got the flywheel and the pulley sorted. Then I put the clutch on, and then I put the clutch on, and then I took the clutch off because, where is it? There, look, one of the bolts snapped, which isn't not exactly ideal. I can drill it out, it's not a problem, but I ain't going to do it today. It's blowing a bloody gale now and it's freezing. The sun's gone in and it's gone rubbish. So I'm going to leave it there. Just one more look at the engine. Oh yeah, and I realised I was saying this was going on that front corner. It doesn't, it goes on the back. So if anybody spotted that, well done. Manifold's on, nipped it, I've not tightened it up solid. I've got the carb rebuilt, get that on. There's your little springy thing I made earlier for your spring, return spring. Now I hope it's on the right side. New belt, fan that drives off the belt. I might put new bearings in that, just because, I don't know, just because it's like, it's probably original from 1979. The engine is, there's no reason anything else isn't. So obviously all the metal cowlings to go over it, and big shields that retain the heat and everything and all the rest of it. So all that's got to get painted and fitted, but that's not important at the minute. I just wanted to get this together because it's been sat in bits in there for so long, and all the parts arrived. I thought now's the time to have a go at it, and yeah, it's gone all right until last 30 seconds ago when I snapped the bloody bolt. So anyway, thanks very much for watching. Sorry it's been a bit all over towards the end. Next one will be on the Skoda. Get back on this thing. It's a sneak preview in the last video, was it back on its wheels, and there it is. Needs a bit more work. I really need to sort this out again after it was turns out somebody ran into it back in the late 90s, mid 90s I think it was, and clubbed all that back corner while the old guy were parked up. I found this out recently off another guy on YouTube who commented on one of the Hub Nuts videos when he drove this. So anyway, that's not in this video. So thank you very much for watching, and like, comment, subscribe, and hopefully I've done it all right. Cheers.